Topic 4.6 Internal and External Challenges to State Power from 1450 to 1750. Introduction: The weaving of power and rebellion. In the grand theater of history, the years 1450 to 1750 serve as a pivotal act in the drama of state formation and the contestations it provoked. This era, a crucible of political innovation, witnessed the ascension of centralized states brandishing the tools of modern governance: bureaucracies, standing armies, and complex economies. Yet as the shadows of these states lengthened, they met with a spectrum of resistance, a testament to the human spirit's insistence on autonomy and dignity. The complex tapestry of state expansion. State expansion during this period was not a monolithic process, but an intricate dance between power and resistance. As states sought to weave larger tapestries of control, they often snagged on the resilient fabric of local societies, each thread resisting the pull to conform to the designs of distant rulers. In the American Southwest, the Pueblo Revolts illuminate the frictions of cultural and religious impositions. The Pueblo people's uprising in 1680, orchestrated by a leader named Pope, was a formidable pushback against Spanish colonial mechanisms, such as the encomienda system. This revolt, often understudied, underscores the potency of indigenous resistance against colonial encroachment, a powerful reminder of the cultural resilience in the face of overwhelming state machinery. So what happened was the Spanish chose to interfere with the personal kachina dolls of the Pueblo people. And these dolls represented their faith and their family, and in some ways themselves. Naturally, they resisted. Not far from these revolts, the Apache and Navajo also engaged in a prolonged resistance against Spanish and later American expansion. Their guerrilla tactics and deep knowledge of the terrain allowed them to successfully resist for centuries, shaping the policies and approaches of colonial and national governments. The European struggle: autonomy versus absolutism. The European landscape was equally tumultuous. The Fronde uprisings in mid-17th century France were a result of noble and popular discontent against the expanding absolutist state. The nobles' resistance to the centralization under Louis XIV and the eventual capitulation showcased the metamorphosis of French governance, leading to a more sophisticated absolutism, tempered by an understanding of the limits of royal power. Parallel to this, the Cossack revolts offer another narrative thread. The Zaporizhian Cossacks, under leaders like Bohdan Khmelnytsky, rebelled against Polish-Lithuanian and later Russian control in the 17th century. Their struggle was characterized by a fierce defense of their rights and a desire for self-governance, shaping the political landscape of Eastern Europe significantly. Subcontinental tussles: the Maratha stand. Turning to the Indian subcontinent, the Maratha conflict with the Mughals offers a vivid portrait of resistance to imperial hegemony. The Marathas, staunch protectors of their regional autonomy and Hindu traditions, mounted a resistance that not only challenged, but also eventually eroded the Mughal Empire's sway, setting the stage for a new power in the Indian political theater. In parallel, the Sikh resistance in the Punjab region, under leaders like Guru Gobind Singh, also presented a formidable challenge to Mughal authority. The formation of the Khalsa, a warrior community, was a direct response to religious persecution and the imposition of imperial power, showcasing another facet of local resistance to centralization. African resistance through diplomacy and arms. In Africa, the narrative of Ana Nzinga as the ruler of Indongo and Matamba is a compelling saga of resistance. Her adept diplomacy and military strategies against the Portuguese forces were not mere reactions, but proactive efforts to safeguard her people's future from the vices of colonialism and the slave trade. Her reign serves as an exemplar of statecraft in the period, highlighting the agency of African leaders amidst the tidal forces of European imperialism. She used the Dutch against the Portuguese. Similarly, the Ashanti Empire's confrontations with European powers in the Gold Coast area demonstrated a sophisticated blend of military resistance and diplomacy. Their ability to maintain relative autonomy and regional control through a centralized state structure showed another effective form of local resistance to European encroachment. Here we have Lord Geoffrey Amherst, the head English officer, the North America's indigenous defiance. The North American front witnessed Metacom's War, an indigenous alliance's fierce opposition to English settlers. This war, often called King Philip's War, was a desperate and ultimately tragic resistance that exemplified the existential threat posed by colonial expansion to indigenous ways of life, resulting in a massive loss of life and autonomy for the native peoples. In a similar vein, the resistance of the Cherokee during the Anglo-Cherokee War, 1758 to 1761, demonstrated the complexities of alliances and resistance in colonial America. The Cherokee initially aligned with the British against French and other indigenous groups, but eventually rebelled against British encroachments, showcasing the fluid dynamics of power and resistance in the era. Synthesizing the global mosaic of resistance. These instances of resistance were not isolated phenomena, but were interconnected with broader global developments. The proliferation of gunpowder weapons, for example, began to alter the balance of power between states and resistance groups. The Marathas, Cossacks, and Ashanti, among others, utilized these advancements to bolster their military capabilities against more centralized powers. Moreover, the economic transformations of this period, such as the growth of mercantilism and the Atlantic slave trade, provided both the means and motivation for states to expand and for local groups to resist. The wealth derived from trade and colonization fueled state-building efforts, while simultaneously engendering resistance as the negative consequences of these economic systems became increasingly apparent. The echoes in the present. In an ironic twist of history, the very forces of state expansion that sought to suppress diversity and local autonomy have unwittingly served as catalysts for the rich tapestry of today's globalized world. The Maratha Confederacy's resistance, for instance, sowed the seeds for regional governance that persists in India's federal structure today. The legacies of these resistances are etched into the political and cultural landscapes of modern nations, providing a historical backdrop to contemporary struggles for autonomy and rights. In concluding this historical journey, it is evident that the period from 1450 to 1750 is a testament to the dynamic interplay between the might of expanding states and the indomitable will of those who resisted. These narratives of defiance against centralized authority are not mere footnotes in history. They are the undercurrents that have shaped the modern world, echoing through time to remind us of the enduring power of the human spirit to challenge and redefine the nature of power itself.